It's time for the 1430 Connection on 1430 WNAV and 99.9 FM, spotlighting news, newsmakers, and important community issues. Now, with this week's edition of the 1430 Connection, here is WNAV news anchor Donna Cole.
Welcome to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. In the studio with me today is John Schofield. He's the Deputy Director of MDOT's, Maryland State Highway Administration's Office of Communications. That's a big title, John.
Yeah? It's a lot of words.
Did I get it right?
Yeah, it's perfect.
All right, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk about a lot of stuff regarding our state highways, state roads, what's going on, what's not going on. Is everybody happy with them? Well, you don't know if everybody's happy with them. You know when people aren't happy with them.
We hope they're happy with them, but I don't think you really ever satisfy everyone.
Yeah.
Transportation, I think, affects everyone statewide.
It's amazing when we share information, as we have in recent history, about sinkholes.
Yeah.
They get a lot of attention.
Yeah, well, I think that is a sign of what you're seeing weather-wise.
Right.
With all the rain, a pretty intemperate winter, a lot of moisture in the last few weeks, and then particularly what we saw in Ellicott City and then what we're going to see even this week. It's a lot of moisture coming down. So after you have a frozen ground over the winter and then you inundate that ground with water, runoff, a lot of moisture, you tend to see not only potholes, but the expansion of a pothole, which is a sinkhole, which is what we saw on Defense Highway. And we have one on 665 at Riva Road.
We had the Defense Highway went into, then the next one was the one on Central Avenue in Edgewater, and then most recently, yes, the one on the ramp going from, it's accessed both northbound and southbound on Riva Road, but it's on the northbound side going onto 665 inbound. Okay, so yes, from all this rain, from stormwater controls, it's a lot of repairs going on right now.
It's a lot. On top of projects, capital level projects that we have going on year round, a lot of people don't necessarily recognize that this is a 24/7 job. This is sort of like the Postal Service, but the Postal Service doesn't deliver on Christmas or on Easter or on certain days. This is all day, every day. These are men and women who are in our chart vehicles or our first response vehicles who are helping people with a flat tire at 2 a.m, or closing a lane as a result of a crash on a highway, or responding to a sinkhole or pothole that is endangering people on a road. So,
and by the way, a sinkhole apparently isn't just a 2-hour fix. A sinkhole, regardless if it's just a couple feet or larger, it seems to be a multi-day fix.
That's correct. And we were really, really proud of the Defense Highway fix, and that took place right there during commissioning week, which a lot of people know that people travel around this area a lot during commissioning week. You have a lot of people trying to get to and fro, and then here we are in a major artery, not even in an area where people usually saw the high water on Defense Highway. It was really closer to that Best Buy VEIP
which
station.
Surprised me. It was exactly.
Yeah, so really we had to completely rebuild. So the pipes failed. We had to completely reinstall the 2 pipes, rebuild the head walls and the culverts, and then fill it with the large boulders that kind of provide the thickness to the road, and then the small boulders, so we call it riprap, which is the large stuff, and then
which is what we're used to calling this when we see on property owners along the Chesapeake Bay. Yeah,
exactly. So essentially we took a sinkhole that we thought was going to close that road for almost 2 weeks, and we worked around the clock and had that done really before the thick of the Memorial Day weekend hit. I think it opened Friday afternoonish. I forget the exact time, but essentially as people were heading out of town.
It was amazing timing. Yeah. All right. So all this weather-related, and just as we have the weather-related issues in the winter with the roads, we now have it because of so much rain we've had. This isn't reflective. This can happen on any roads, or is it reflective of deteriorating roads?
I think what I always say, and we say it a lot during the winter, but it really hit home this weekend, is that we can engineer and over-engineer our way into myriad solutions out there. We can build smarter roads. We can build incredible bridges. We can expand the roads and build a 4th lane on the Severn River Bridge. But the great variable that no one can control is weather.
Yeah.
And so there I was at the Solo movie with my kids, and all we expected was a little bit of rain. And then my phone is blowing up, and Ellicott City got 10 inches of rain. Right. So I don't think it's necessarily emblematic of engineering or the status of roads. I think that whether it's snow or wind or rain, and I learned this a lot in the Navy, that the weather is the great variable you can't control. And when it comes in, you really can't proactively posture. You have to reactively react.
Right.
And so we saw a lot of that. We had a team in Ellicott City immediately, a team from our office of structures and materials in there at 6:30 a.m. the next day to figure out how we opened up or how we could help them open up 144, which eventually turns in to Ellicott City's Main Street. So yeah, I think we just have to be patient with the weather and understand that it's one of those uncontrollable variables.
All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, more about the work of the Maryland State Highway Administration. This is Donna Cole on the 1430 Connection. We will be right back. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. In the studio with me is Deputy Director John Schofield of MDOT's, Maryland State Highway Administration's Office of Communication. Just talking about the sinkholes that we've been having, weather-related sinkholes. Let's talk about some other projects we've had recently, or still do. We are still in the midst of construction going on, although you might not see it, on the Severn River Bridge.
That is correct. So last Labor Day, Governor Hogan stood up there in the Ridgely Ave overpass, and we announced the beginning of that construction project, which really was meant to just add a fourth lane to the eastbound part of the Severn River Bridge to allow for less queuing into Annapolis, especially during those getaway weekends. On April 30th, we opened that fourth lane, and it's been available since April 30th. So here we are exactly a month after the opening of the fourth lane. And I think you're really starting to see the benefit to the driver. Up until about August, we're still going to have construction crews out there working on the landscaping on the sides, working on the off-ramps. They've just repaved it, so a lot of people will notice not only are there 4 lanes now, but they're much smoother lanes going over. So that'll go until about August as they continue to work on guardrail, off-ramps, on-ramps, and landscaping. And then the true benefit to the driver will be seen. But what we're really proud of is that starting on Memorial Day weekend getaway, and then for these upcoming weekends, particularly after school's let out on the 14th and 15th of June, that's where you're going to see that steady op tempo of people leaving on Thursdays and Fridays for the beaches, and hopefully that's where they really see the benefit of the fourth lane.
Should we expect to see no more traffic jams there? A little bit better? What should we expect?
Well, I would expect to always see queuing there.
Okay.
I think what we're hoping to do away with is the debilitating queuing where sometimes, and as an Annapolis resident myself, I would see sometimes the queuing back to 424.
Right.
Particularly on those big getaway weekends like June 16th and 17th, Ocean City Air Show, July 4th weekend, Labor Day weekend. So what we saw on Memorial Day was a little bit less of that. You're still going to have people who are coming up to Rowell Boulevard and either merging in or merging off. But as you get to the real thick of the bridge, that it really starts moving.
And you can't control what's going on the accidents that there was recently a backup that lasted until after 8 o'clock at night. That didn't happen because of the Severn River Bridge, but Severn River Bridge was part of it, and everybody's like, why didn't this fix anything? But it was horrible rain. It was accidents on the bridge, accidents beyond the bridge. It was accidents on 97. All leading to a backup that lasted until 8 o'clock.
You have to look at it as a system of systems, so to speak, that these all work together as part of a corridor management system. So on that particular day in question, there was heavy rain, as we've seen a lot of here this spring. And so during that time, MDTA would not allow, and nor should they,
the two-way traffic.
For that two-way traffic, which then allows for 3 lanes of traffic to move eastbound.
And that's on the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. MDTA handles the bridge. MDSHA does not.
No, but we all work together. We're
Right.
all one family under MDOT.
The Chesapeake Bay Bridge, I should add, not the Severn.
Exactly.
River.
So MDTA, they will manage tolled roads or tolled bridges
Right.
like 95 north of Baltimore, where you have easy pass and toll lanes, or the Bay Bridge that has tolling. We manage all of the numbered non-tolled lanes. So we all work together. We communicate together, and we understand that there's going to be queuing at the Bay Bridge here and
Right.
there. There's going to be queuing at the Severn River Bridge where it is. So the important thing is we get the word out when that queuing exists.
This is a wild question, wild card. You might not know the answer to this. HOV lanes on Route 50. They've never been enforced. You know this. You've been traveling Route 50 for a long time. But there is an HOV lane on Route 50 full time.
Yes. Well, and my hope, and as you and I have talked, I drove that road for 5 years to the Pentagon every day, and really, and I've seen it enforced by MSP. SHA is not an enforcement arm,
yeah.
and our hope is that any system that's in place that requires an enforcement arm gets that appropriate level of enforcement. But this really gets me to a point I make about all of the roads and all of the issues affecting transportation, is that you expect a certain amount of driver behavior or consideration out there on the roads. You don't want people to text and drive. You don't want people to not wear their seatbelt. You don't want people to drive aggressively, and you don't want people to take advantage of HOV lanes when they're not supposed to be in there. So really, the hope is that if there's a benefit to drivers who have made the overt attempt to carpool in order to alleviate traffic, then yeah, respect that. And if you're not eligible for that HOV lane, then the hope is that you would not use it.
And to be fair, we did not have a Annapolis barracks to the Maryland State Police for many years. We do now. And by the way, I did just see them out in force on US 50 this past weekend, which was the first time I've seen that for a while. So there's that.
That's good. And again, going back to driver behavior, we even saw it a little bit coming back on Memorial Day. So we've got a very big program in place where we're trying to encourage people to stay on 50 as they return from the
Yeah, and let's
beaches.
talk about that in a minute. I'm going to take
Okay.
a short break. When we come back, what's going on with beach traffic? This is Donna Cole in the 1430 Connection. We will be right back. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. In the studio with me is John Schofield. He's Deputy Director of MDOT's Maryland State Highway Administration Office of Communications. Yes, you might recognize the name. He was not long ago at the Naval Academy.
Yep.
So, new job.
Well, it keeps me in the area, and it prepared me a lot for what I do here in my current duties. You know, managing issues in the Navy and managing issues in transportation. One would think that they're not really similar, but they kind of are.
Very good. All right, so let's talk about 404. You just had a big project on 404, which is complete, yes?
It is. We opened it. The full dualization of 404 up into Denton was completed right before Thanksgiving last year.
And 404 is mainly used by, for on the weekends anyway, summer weekends and spring weekends, used for people that are going to North Ocean City, Rehoboth, or Bethany. 50 is the one used primarily by people going to South or Central Ocean City. So people in Centerville this past weekend were complaining about their side roads because there were accidents on 404. The question is there any hope in the near future for a cloverleaf or some relief at 213 and 404, 50 and 213, and 50 and 404?
Well, we have a great many projects out there. And again, I was talking before the last break about driver behavior. We've got a really big program in place where we're trying to encourage drivers to be respectful of neighborhoods. I like to say, please don't turn my neighborhood into a highway. Mm-hmm. So what a lot of drivers do is they're returning from the beach on 50 and they see the queuing that exists. So when they see that queuing, they use Waze or Google Maps or other traffic apps, and those direct them to the areas that they believe that the apps believe will result in less time on the road.
Downtown Centerville, Aurora
Yeah, and it
Road
brings
that
them right through Kent Island and through Stevensville and through people's neighborhoods. And what we're trying to say is, that's where people are walking their dog and kids are playing catch, and we really want them to stay on the road. So we've got programs in place that address driver behavior, encouraging them to stay on 50, and then we're looking at all of these metrics of how the queuing affects other neighborhoods and other roads and how we can alleviate that. The 404 project was a big part of that, dualizing, and not only for safety but for ease of travel.
Right.
Addressing the Salisbury bypass bridges on 50. That is a benefit that people will see this summer. And then further onto the beach, 404, 13, 113, the Dover Bridge at 331. These are myriad benefits to the driver.
Got it all, changing people's behavior, but what about the issue with the traffic light at Chesapeake College, which is a long light?
That is.
So is there anything, are there studies being done currently for, go ahead.
There are studies across the corridor, across the network statewide, but for that particular stoplight, I'll have to make sure and talk to our engineering and traffic management people. But yeah, if there's a big part of our processes here is incorporating feedback. That's exactly how we ended up with a dualized 404, which was, this is a safety issue, a non-dualized road where people travel that often and that fast. We want to make sure that this gets addressed. And if there's a stoplight or a corridor or an area.
Yes, there was feedback from the people in the Centerville, Queen Anne's County on cloverleafs being asked for at 50 and 213 and 50 and 404. That light by Chesapeake College especially is a hang up there. The other question is, back in October, it was announced actually at your facility, AI coming soon to control 14 different locations throughout the state. AI smart traffic signals. One of them happens to be a road that I'm on every day, but they were all over. Any idea when that might be deployed?
Basically in the next year. So again, I mentioned a system of systems before the last break. This is all part of an overall smarter way of incorporating travel, where all of these stoplights, where all of these intersections are talking to each other through our statewide operations center and noticing where there are large queues or large delays. On Route 2, right there where Harbor Center is.
Right.
Yep, and then further south on Route 2 toward Mayo Road. So yes, in the next year, incorporating this Smart Signals program is a big part of how you not only alleviate traffic on the side roads and the neighborhood roads, but then that has a ripple effect into less traffic on the major arteries.
All right, John. I think we're running out of time. What did I miss that you want to share?
Not too much, other than the fact that we're really excited as you get to the big travel weekends for people to see a different experience on the shore. You're going to see a lot of events and a lot of changes through June and into July, from the Severn River Bridge 4th lane to the Salisbury bypass bridges to the new Dover Bridge on 331. Benefits to the drivers, where we're making daily commutes like you see through Preston on the Dover Bridge, and also beach commutes like you generally see on 404.
And hopefully benefits to pedestrians on Coastal Highway as well, which is?
Our median fence project here in the next couple of weeks. Our administrator is going to join the Ocean City mayor for our annual pedestrian safety awareness event in Ocean City. And as people go to Ocean City, we want them to be mindful of those median fences. The same kind of thing exists in College Park, where we're not trying to make it a pain in the butt for people to get across the street. We're trying to drive them toward the places where they should cross the street, which is at a signal that has a crosswalk. So you're going to see that on the Coastal Highway in Ocean City, because again, driver safety or travel safety doesn't just involve people in vehicles. It involves people on the roads, people on bicycles, and we're looking out for all of them.
You heard them. Listen to that. Be careful crossing the roads anywhere. This is Donna Cole on the 1430 Connection. We will see you next week.
Thank you, Donna.